What's up, it's CinemaShogun here, and as I reported to you all yesterday, the U.S. military, along with several other countries, have launched a new military campaign, Operation Prosperity Guardian. And we launched this military campaign against the Houthis in Yemen because they were targeting cargo ships that were coming through the Red Sea. They have successfully shut down a lot of international trade that goes on through the area. So I knew it was only a matter of time before we had to confront them. But here's the big issue. Even if we are winning in this fight against the Houthis, which right now we're not, but even if we were, we're still losing at the same time. The Houthis are using drones for most of their attacks against these ships. These drones cost $500–600. The expensive ones are around $2,000, maybe $2,500 if you take into account the amount of explosives and stuff that are within these drones, are attached to these drones. So the Houthis are spending, chump change for these attacks. Meanwhile, these U.S. Navy ships that are shooting down these drones, each shot from one of these ships cost around $2 million. In fact, a little over $2 million. So right now, the U.S. military is having to shoot down, let's say, 2 or 3 dozen drones in a day. Think about how many millions of dollars we're spending just to shoot down these $600–700 drones. For every $1,000 the Houthis are spending, we're spending $2.2 million to shoot down their little homemade drones. Now, of course, we have one of, if not the most powerful military in the world. Of course, the rockets and missiles and stuff that we have at our disposal are, way more advanced than what the Houthis have. But at the same time, are we really winning if we're just sitting out in the ocean, spending millions upon millions of dollars every day to shoot down their rinky-dink drones? So even if they're not successfully hitting these cargo ships anymore, they leave us in a position where they're hurting our economy because we're spending millions upon millions of dollars to shoot down their little drones. I'm telling you right now that I would say that a lot of you all watching this video probably have drones at home that are more expensive and sophisticated than some of the stuff that the Houthis are using, okay? Imagine your little drone at home that you bought at Best Buy. Imagine the U.S. military spending $2.2 million to shoot that drone out of the sky. That's basically what's happening over in that region of the world right now. So even when we're successfully defending these ships, at what cost? At what cost? It's outrageous when you think about it, and surely we could come up with a way to shoot these things down, without spending so much money. I think we need to dial back on spending so much money. I mean, look at what the Houthis are doing. They're successfully taking over ships. They're successfully disrupting world trade with, drones that cost a few $100s. We got to figure out a way where we're not spending $2.2 million per shot. You know what I mean? That's insane. But I want to go ahead and roll this news clip. Before I do, make sure that you guys are subscribed to this channel and make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Let's roll this clip and then I'll be right back with more.
Shipping companies around the world are halting their use of the Red Sea over recent and increasing frequent attacks on commercial ships by Houthi rebels. An Iranian-backed group who operate out of Yemen today, BP, joined the growing list of companies refusing now to use this shortcut through the Suez Canal, which cuts more than 3,000 nautical miles off an average journey. And oil prices, well, they are already feeling the effects. Today, crude oil prices were up more than 8%, and the average cost of gas raised for the first time in 17 days. Look at that. In just a moment, we will be speaking to Henry Byers, who helms the Ocean Intelligence Wing of FreightWaves, on just how impactful this will be to the world economy. But first, let's bring in News Nation's Kelly Meyer with more on how the Pentagon is responding to the threat at this point. Kelly.
Hey, Nicole. Well, the defense secretary says this is impacting the international community, and it's going to take an international response. That's why you're seeing him urge other countries to join the U.S. using this framework of an existing task force that's already been at work to counter terrorism in the Red Sea. We're already seeing at least 9 nations joining into what they're calling Operation Prosperity Guardian. We see, for example, the UK, France, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates all signing up here. The main question now, though, will it work? There have been over 100 one-way attack drone and ballistic missile attacks by the Houthis, impacting 35 different nations. A crew is still being detained in Yemen after Houthis took them hostage in late November. Now, as a result, shipping companies left and right have been rerouting from the Red Sea to a much longer and more costly route around Africa to avoid these dangerous attacks. And it's all hitting oil prices just as folks are hitting the road for the holidays. The latest company to do this, energy giant BP, pausing their oil shipments, the move immediately sending oil prices up. Now, the concern here is if these attacks continue and companies continue to fear using the Suez Canal for an extended period, that could then impact the flow of oil from countries like Saudi Arabia and Iraq, where BP operates a major oil field. Today, the Secretary of Defense convening a virtual meeting of 43 countries, urging them together to help before it comes to that.
Recently, we see challenges in the Red Sea and in the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb, and you are making sure that you're providing support to that effort as well. So it's about as busy as it gets in the region here, but this just tells you that this is a critical region.
The White House sure to face questions on this any moment now at the White House press briefing on how they're putting the pressure on the Houthis to stop these attacks before the cost reaches consumers here at home. Nicole.
So, in my opinion, I mean, the natural thing to do here, if these military commanders are smart, and I mean, I don't know if they are anymore these days, but you can't just sit out here in the ocean spending millions of dollars every day shooting down these rinky-dink drones. At some point, you're going to have to strike the location from which these drones are being sent from. So even though the Houthis, I don't want to say they're winning in this little battle, but in a way they're winning. You know, they've disrupted trade. They've cost millions upon billions of dollars for multiple countries now. You know, Israel hasn't been able to get their shipments in. We got places like Egypt who have lost tons of money. We got whole entire, corporations, oil corporations and stuff who are refusing to ship stuff through that area. And that sends a message to the world. Because it's not like the Houthis are just out there by themselves and we have these big corporations refusing to send ships through that area. We have the U.S. Navy out there, along with other countries from NATO and other, military alliances that we have. We have a pretty big fleet out there. And it sends a message to the world when these companies are scared to travel through this area, even though they know that the U.S. military is right out there, and can protect them. So it kind of shows the world that the U.S. Navy and their allies are weaker than a lot of people thought, or at least it sends that message regardless if it's true or not. So I believe at some point we're going to start seeing some strikes on Yemen. What that will turn into, I don't know. Yemen has amassed this force that they say they want to send to Gaza to fight Israel. I don't know how they would be able to do that unless they go from air or sea. I don't believe that's going to happen, but there's just a lot of stuff going on over there right now. And as I was talking about in previous videos, this is just a direct path to conflict with Iran. And that almost looks like it's inevitable at some point if these attacks keep happening in the Red Sea and these attacks that keep happening in Iraq and Syria. Even though I don't report on it every day, it's still happening. It's still happening every day. Things have not slowed down much. But for now, let me know your thoughts about this down in the comment section. If you're feeling generous and you want to send a donation, you can send a donation directly via Cash App, or you can send one via Super Thanks. But for totally free, you can help the channel in many ways by liking the video, subscribing, ringing that notification bell, all of that good stuff. And with that being said, I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.